Good morning. Welcome back to the Mayor's Table. I'm Mayor Tommy Roberts, and my guest this morning, once again, is City Manager Rob Mays.
Good morning.
Good to have you, Rob. This is a good Wednesday morning.
Yes.
I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. We're back at work today and getting ready for the New Year's celebration.
That's right.
Then we're headed into the new year. 2018 presents a lot of
2018.
challenges for us, and one of those things that's going to be happening is that we'll have a municipal election coming up on March 6th of 2018. And these elections occur every 2 years, and it's always important to get the information out to the public about what's going to be happening during those elections. And so that's what we want to talk about today. So the election is scheduled for March 6th, which is a Tuesday. But there are some key dates that we need to talk about, and we want to talk about those in just a minute. I think, first of all, we want to note for those viewing this segment of the Mayor's Table that there will be 3 positions on the ballot that make up the City Council, and then 2 other positions which involve the full-time municipal judge position and the part-time municipal judge position. But in the context of the City Council and the 5-person membership of the council, we'll have 2 districts that are on the ballot. Those are districts 3 and 4. And then we have the mayor's position that is on the ballot. So let's talk about key dates.
Yeah, well, as you say, every 2 years, it's an exciting time of elections, but on the 4-year rotation, 3 entire members of our council would change, and the majority could change, including the mayor election, which is our only citywide election as we elect a new mayor. So, as you mentioned, the election is March 6, 2018, and then there's a couple other opportunities that people have for voting. The first is absentee voting, begins on January 30th, and early voting here at City Hall, at the City Clerk's office, that runs from February 14th to March 2nd.
So the filing date for candidacy is Tuesday, January 6th, is that right?
January 9th. So
Okay,
again,
Tuesday,
for
January 9th.
those that want to declare for one of those 5 positions that you mentioned, they need to file on January 9th, and that's the only day. That's the kind of thing that surprises people. It's not prior to then or as a deadline, but on that day between the hours of 8 and 5, you have to physically show up and turn in a completed candidacy declaration form. And you also have to have with you an affidavit of voter registration. And the affidavit of voter registration you pick up from the San Juan County Clerk's office. So not to be confused with the municipal clerk. If you want to run for office, you first need to go to the San Juan County Clerk at the county offices in Aztec and to get your affidavit of voter registration. Then you need to pick up a declaration of candidacy form from the Farmington City Council here in Farmington City Hall, and then show up in person with those documents between the hours of 8 and 5 on January 9th.
Then there's a write-in filing deadline as well, and I believe that's a week later.
1 week later.
Tuesday, January 16th.
That's correct.
And I don't know that we've ever had a write-in candidacy in the city of Farmington. There probably has been, but I'm just not aware of it. But that is an opportunity for anybody who might decide after the January 9th filing deadline if they decide they wanted to become involved in this election in one way or another.
Yeah, and then I should note that you can pick up a declaration of candidacy form also off of the city clerk's website on the city webpage as well at fmtn.org. You don't actually have to come in to get that form, but you do have to go to the county clerk in Aztec to get your affidavit.
Yeah. So we know that there's going to be a significant change in the elected body in 2018 as a result of this election. I have decided that I am not running for re-election as mayor, so we'll have a new mayor. We know that Councilor Nate Duckett, who currently represents District 4, has declared that he is running for the position of mayor, and so he will give up his District 4 seat. So that will be wide open, and it will ultimately be occupied by somebody new.
Yep.
And then we know that Councilor McCulloch, who represents District 3, is not seeking re-election, so there will be a new face in that seat as well. So this is an occurrence that's going to result in a big change.
That's right.
In the way city government looks at the elected level, the governing body level. From your perspective as a manager, the leading manager, the highest manager in our system of government, what does this mean for you and for staff?
Well, we have really enjoyed a long-standing lot of stability in our mayoral leadership and in our council. My job as the city manager is to carry out the policy direction of the mayor and council. So that's really my job. Not so much even it's a nonpartisan position. I think I can work with any good mayor and council. We've been very, very fortunate with your leadership for 8 years. Mayor Stanley for 12 years before that, Mayor Taylor for 12 years before that. So in what is that,
32 years.
32 years, we've only had 3 mayors, and so that's a lot of stability and not a whole lot of turnover at the city manager position as well. So you asked specific, what does that mean? Well, the mayor ultimately, unilaterally, has the authority to appoint the city manager and then seek the concurrence of the council. So there's the potential for a new city manager. The city manager then unilaterally has the authority to appoint all of the department heads. So 13 department heads are appointed by the city manager. So anytime we have this much of a possibility of a change, obviously from a standpoint of staff's perspective, we follow very closely and we care very much because our job is to carry out the policy direction that we're given.
Well, in my opinion, good government is founded upon citizen involvement and an educated citizenry. I think that's one of the functions of an existing elected body, is to try to find ways to engage the people who live in that community to be involved in their local government. It doesn't have to be as an elected official, but that is certainly one way to become engaged. There are multiple numbers of other ways to be involved. But right now we're talking about an election, so we provide this information to those of you who are viewing this segment of the Mayor's Table, encouraging you to think about whether you might be someone who would be interested in serving as a member of the governing body. It's a huge commitment of time, but it's a very worthwhile thing to do for your community. You learn a great deal. You learn a little bit about a lot of things, but it expands your understanding of your community, and it helps you to direct the way in which our community would go. So I encourage people out there to be thinking about it. You still have some time to contemplate whether it's something you might want to do, and if you decide that you want to talk more about it, I certainly would be willing to visit with you, and I know Rob would be willing to talk with you about what is involved. But this is, again, much more than just encouraging people to think about running for elected office. We want to inform people that the election is coming up because it's important that people participate by voting. And leading up to that vote, it's important to educate yourself about the issues and to make an informed decision about who it is you will vote for. So we want to encourage that as well. So Rob, I think we've probably covered what I wanted to cover here this morning, and that is to get this information out about the elections coming up on March 6th. Do you have any other closing thoughts that you'd like to pass along to our viewers?
Yeah, just to remind people that local municipal government is nonpartisan, and so it's not a Democrat, Republican, or independent. It's about responsible citizens of Farmington who live here, raise their families here, work here, play here, wanting to have a voice and a part of what goes on in government. And people sometimes underestimate how much impact their elected officials really do have on their lives. And so again, I really encourage people to vote March 6th, as you said. And if you know you're not going to be here on March 6th, don't forget the 2 other opportunities through absentee voting beginning January 30th and early voting February 14th all the way up to March 2nd.
I'd like to point out that it would be my plan to invite all of those people who are candidates for any one of these 3 positions to visit here on the Mayor's Table. We're tentatively setting aside 2 to 3 segments in the future. These would probably be the last week in January and the first couple of Mondays in February, where we would give the candidates an opportunity to visit with you on the mayor's table. We'd also like to point out that all of this information, these deadline information, the date information, will be posted to our webpage and our Facebook page. So if you don't remember what we've talked about here this morning, you can go to those social media outlets and get that information. So that will close this segment of the Mayor's Table. Thank you for being with us again this morning, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.